It's time, and I do apologize for starting this late, but we're ready to surf again. How's everybody's 2023 going so far? For us, pretty chaotic, but nothing out of the ordinary. And we're going to be looking at the next surf week, which is the 5th of January through the 11th. And I'm calling this Welcome to the SS. And hold on, I'll explain what SS is coming up. So here we go. Everybody ready for a full moon? Some Uranus craziness. Oh, I knew I forgot something. There we go. Get the pointer focus up. Here's our slide. Now we're going to have two main slides. So we got the influence. We're going to be looking for the biggest influence. And then we're going to be looking at the solution later towards the end of the video. So it's one thing to know what it's going to feel like. And the astrology is a little bit all over the place, but it's fairly consistent with the I-Ching that says enthusiasm and consistent with the dream bot. As you notice, these two circles, the I-Ching is blue and the dream bot is green. So they're pretty much just overlapped with each other, meaning that they both share they both signal the same astrological influence, which is the full moon in Cancer, not necessarily Cancer, just full moon with the enthusiasm. And this square on Uranus, I think, is going to be electric. Uranus represents technology. Whenever you think of supplying electricity around, that's more Uranus. Some people think of Mercury. But the inventor is definitely the Uranus energy. And then on top of that, we're going to have a grand Earth trine towards the end of our surf week with Uranus on one of those points. So heavy emphasis on Uranus, full moon, and that's going to make it more of and more of an electricity and an increase in volume of energy. And I'm calling that enthusiasm, although enthusiasm sort of implies really positive, and I'm very jiggy with that. I'm very hopeful for a positive shocker, but it's not necessarily positive. It's just bigger energy, according to the I-Ching 16. The dream bot, it also points to insanity extremes. But the biggest meme is what goes around comes around. Can't wait to show you that one. That one is a foot stomper and almost exciting if it's part of the forecast for what the collective is making. We have in astrology, we've got the Venus in Aquarius, so the relational energy and how we relate to each other has changed. We've got the full moon in Cancer, which really starts us going, overboard, but crazy on nurturing and maternal instincts, maybe staying home. We got Uranus over the North Node still, and that square with Saturn is gonna expire this week. That's exciting. But the Uranus then is gonna shift its baton and hand the baton over to Venus. So now relational and the Venus aspect gets a little bit of change and insight from Uranus. And then I already talked about the T-square and the grand Earth trine. So welcome to the shit show. When you say, wait, come on, we've been seeing this for a couple years now. I don't know. This is a step up in terms of the energy. I think it's going to push people to the brink in some form or fashion. But if nothing else, it's going to be different. I can say that. All right, let's go ahead and get started. And question for our growing surf family. What do you all want to do? How do we want to celebrate 2,000 followers on YouTube when we get there? We're about 20 people away. So keep sharing, share with your family and most trusted friends, because I think this material requires, a certain kind of advancement to appreciate it. I think. But a lot of you do, as indicated by the comments. By the way, the comments. The winner this week is YouTube 1984. Love the handle name. And it says first for the last CIRF report. And they're first in the comment. And so congratulations with 5 ups. But I had a honorable mention, and that is Gemini Rising. Says, love your videos, but more importantly, we have another fellow Gemini Rising. That's me. So shout out to Gemini Rising, but shout out to all of the comments that helped out the algorithm over on YouTube. Over on Rumble, pretty successful week as well. Thank you to Brave Steed, not for me to say, and Ginger Ale Brit. Love that. Love those handle names. You guys are awesome. So anyway, thanks for all the comments, and thanks for participating, sharing. Make sure, all right, if you're over on BitChute, what we're lacking there is any sort of ups. So make sure you pound that like thing. It will really help us with the algorithm, but it's doing pretty good over on BitChute. It's doing the best on YouTube. So shout out to all you YouTubers who are still here. All right, let's go into the DreamBot. And as you could expect, the word 2023 or the number 2023 is in the dictionary, and it's got the biggest surge score of all, 152. So that's unheard of, but it really makes sense, right? All the dreams now being recorded are in the new year. The next highest is insane. And let me go ahead and just read this first linguistic set. 2023, insane, pizza, round, lines backward, dying. And that's all over the place, and it's not in a sentence format. So a lot of you take it literally or are going to have a problem with that. But if you kind of think in terms of metaphor and what the major words are, we're looking at 2023 insane. We're looking at pizza and lines backward, dying. Are they caught? Is that the ticket there? Now, the red arrows is where they're just round things. Pizza, round. Wheel, a table can be round, a ball is round, and a rock can be round. So definitely round, but is it a metaphor? Because it has this backwards and dying meme with it. I think it's what goes around comes around. That's what I'm thinking. The blue arrow is massive, and it shows insanity and extremes. And that's insane at the top, or the second word, insane. So anyway, very pivotal DreamBot run, in my opinion. This is the collective unconscious. It's what people are dreaming about. And we're taking all these words and organize them in priority order. And it's interesting where the collective mind is. Insane in 2023. All right. Let's get into the astrology. And here we are in the second week. I'm going to darken it just a tad for you. And what you're going to see is all these directs. So Mars is direct. Mars is retrograde currently, and next CIRF report, Mars will be going direct. And then we've got Mercury in retrograde currently, and then we'll be going direct somewhere around the 19th. And then Uranus, who's in a retrograde currently, will be going direct. So everything will be going direct towards the end of January by the 23rd of January, once we get into Aquarian season. We've got Venus, already talked about last week, going into Aquarius. And that changes the whole dynamic of how we relate and how we appear to others. We have a full moon this week in Cancer, and our next new moon will be in Aquarius. So after the sun makes its way into Aquarius. We have a couple of neat alignments. Mercury that's in retrograde is making a trine to Uranus. So that's a really big. It can be very insightful, and especially it talks about it. It's going to talk about it in the rave mandala, where we're taking our past experiences, past successes, and having those instruct us in this coming week. And that makes sense from a Mercury trine Uranus standpoint, because Mercury is in retrograde. And so these past memories are sort of more common than your future forecasting, at least with the mind and cognition. And so trine over to Uranus makes it really easy to get insights and change your mind. But there's some other benefits there too. Then the Sun trine Uranus is also going exact this week. And we have Venus trine Mars, as well as a lot of other things. Let's go ahead and get started. So on the 7th, you guys have already seen January 7th. That was a little future casting, a bonus chart for you, where it shows no squares whatsoever. And that's in 2 days here, from January 5th to January 7th. On January 7th, you'll have 1 day of no conflicted pressure energy in the chart. But then we quickly go back into squares and T-squares and whatnot. So now we've got Uranus is the big focus. So we want to look at the square over to Saturn, but it's expiring because you can see it's just about out of that 8-degree orb. And so you're not going to see that at all in 20. We've had enough of it, right? It doesn't mean protests are going to stop all of a sudden. It doesn't mean this energy is suddenly stopping. The damage has been done. And it might have set in as the status quo for quite some time, as Saturn is in Aquarius. Aquarius is the pro-freedom and just leave me alone individualism. I am concerned about the collective, but my more important is just leave me the hell alone. So that's set now, and then we have all sorts of trines that I'm going to talk about in, Friday the 6th. We have Uranus has its trines. Now, this is starting on the 5th. I'm just kind of scrolling through here. Most of these alignments are going to be valid all week long, other than the Uranus and Saturn. But Uranus is going to be changing the mental aptitude, the cognitions that you have, the thoughts, and the way you communicate are going to change. Now, Mercury is in that retrograde, so it's a good time to be thinking about past. But while shifting that into the future, you can alter your course based on past learning, right? So your past thoughts are here, thinking that you're being haunted by them, and rather you can actually use them as good. In other words, changing something in the future instead of keep recreating the past, right? So there's a benefit here. And then the Sun has also got a trine, and this is a pretty tight one at 16 degrees and 15 degrees. So pretty tight. And that's a disruption has been a disruption on the ego and what the ego wants, and what the ego wants to achieve, because it's in Capricorn. I think that's about it here. Now we get back to our 7th, January 7th, and it's all trines. Didn't count those up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like 5 trines. Trines represent easy energy. Now, it doesn't always mean it's going to be feeling good and good outcomes all the time. Sometimes these trines make bad things easy. I don't like the way that's termed, because these energies, these alignments produce a sensation, produce a motivating, maybe a discomfort or a certain emotion. That emotion then gets converted into a response, a reaction, normally a behavior, some sort of behavior. Even not doing anything is a response. And it's a response that's typical for the aloof or the dissociated. But there's always a reaction, and that's what we don't know. This does not predict reactions. None of this predicts anyone's free will reaction. All right, so that's the toughest part, is even though you and I get the benefit of seeing what these energies are and influences, everyone else is pretty much going to be unconscious about it. So they're going to feel the same feelings, but they're going to be reacting probably irrationally or differently than the rest of us because they're in escape mode. We don't have to be in escape mode because we know what to expect. And so the Venus trine Mars is introducing a lot of passion, a lot of relatedness, and they're both air signs. So there is a lot of knowledge, wisdom, but friendliness. So air signs are very well known for friendly, but this brings up a certain amount of passion. A lot of people will talk about romance. That's implicated here as well. And they're going to be closing in pretty fast. This is a strengthening trine. And so looking for romance, looking for love, looking for understanding is going to be implicated here. And then the moon has its trines over to dreamy Neptune and positive Jupiter. All right. Now on Sunday, the 8th, this is where we have immediately starting a T-square. So now Venus is picking up that square on Uranus. And that means that we have some disruption in the way we relate to people, the way that we want people to see us, maybe our creativity and art. Finance can be really disrupted in this. There's a pressure to change something. You're going to see a lot of words, a lot of people talking about, we need to change this and that. And the opportunists that self-proclaim that they're above us might use this as a strategy for pitching some sort of financial change. They're going to put pressure on us to want that as well. Uranus trine the moon is bringing the emotions into it, so it's a very emotional experience for Uranus. And Uranus, again, wants independence. It wants to be different. It wants to be eccentric. It wants to be maybe the mad scientist or the inventor, very insightful. And it's also about technology. So there's a pressure on technology. Has anybody seen technology issues lately? We have in our line of work. It's almost all day long now. And we haven't even gotten to the Uranus square, T-square. So on Sunday the 8th, I would expect some more disruption in technology and being able to connect with people. Not the inability to talk to people, is just the avenue at which you talk. You might have to choose some other different avenue in order to communicate. The pressure to change friendships and romantic relationships. And also pressure to be a little bit more detached. Both of these, Venus in Aquarius is somewhat detached. Doesn't have to be cold. It's going to be friendly, but more detached from others. And of course, Uranus really would rather be eccentric than in a big group of people. But not always. It can be both. So pressure to be more detached. Monday the 9th. This is the second day of our T-square. Thank you, Moon. And let's see here. Not a whole lot of changes. Just very emotional time for Uranus and our relationships. This, by the way, this is a very big, oh, and I didn't mention one more thing. Sorry about going all over the place. And this is fairly important. So you have this big pressurized trap here with Uranus. And those who are wise can stay in there, or aware or advanced can stay in that trap. But most of us probably would rather just go over to Scorpio as your solution. A lot of people, when they have a T-square, the solution is to go to the opposite side of the zodiac. And that would be around Scorpio and into the past. So thoughts are going to be naturally going towards the past. And the rave brings us all full circle. Haven't talked about it yet, but I'm going to show you how the rave is saying go to the past to successes. So we can ruminate about things that went well in our past. And that's what Scorpio does. Not just negative rumination. Rumination can be a very positive thing. Recalling past experiences, lessons learned, and just keep on going over them and over them and over them, and get your lessons learned so you can change it into the future. But also there's this pressure, right? Pressure system. And that outlet, Uranus pressurized, has a trine outlet. So that's going to have more influence on your ego and more influence on Mercury, your mind, the way you communicate and travel. So there's going to be change in how all that happens. There's going to be bigger change in how your ego carries out tasks and goals and sets those goals. All right, now we're into Tuesday. Sorry again for jumping around. Tuesday the 10th. This is going to initiate ego overhaul because the sun is conjoining Pluto, and we're within that 8-degree orb right now. So it's very early on, but there's two things that happen here, two main things. There's a lot that happens and represented by Pluto, which is death and rebirth, transformation. And then there's also this deep inner power that we can access. So it's a double-edged sword. You can go in there, and if you go in with the ego and not aware of this, then it can look like the world is ending and you're dying. But you can also go in with this alignment with a whole lot of power. You can get to the deeper depths of who you are and achieve some great things and get some good insights about where your power resides in the subconscious, what your strong suits are, your superpower in the shadow, the deep inner sanctums of the mind. Now, what do I have here? I've got the opportunity is, as this is happening, the sun also makes a sextile over to Neptune. So it's the opportunity to try on possible egos. So think about this. Ego is going to get an overhaul, and you know that you can get some really good power in this. So you can go use this opportunity to go imagine different outcomes. You can say try on different avatars in your mind or try on different goals before you actually do them. And you can the opportunity is see what's possible as the outcome. So you can get to decide if that's the change that you want or the transformation that you want into. It's not just transforming from where you are. It also has a vector because it is Capricorn. It's a vector on where your ego's headed. So you can steer that. That's my point with this. You don't have to just succumb to this feeling of dread and doom that Pluto tends to have. And then work these together. So the ego gets an overhaul, and you have an opportunity to try on these different futures or different labels or identities. And you can feed those back into, once again, Uranus, change into the future and make the change. So fantastic opportunity this week is concluded by Wednesday the 11th, we've got a grand Earth trine. And we have two of those planets, Sun and Mercury, at one tip, the Moon and Uranus and the North Node. 5 degrees away from the North Node, by the way, Uranus into the future. Uranus is future-oriented already, so now we're painting and sculpting out the future. We're inventing the future. That's a better way to say Uranus over to the North Node. But grand Earth trine makes all that transformation, i.e. ego transformation, it makes all that change into the future. It makes it feel more, emotional, but grounded. Because it's all Earth signs. Earth signs are steadfast, hardworking, very purposeful, can stay grounded. And this is likewise. A lot of people, I think, with this extra energy, the I-Ching calls it enthusiasm. We're going to look at that next. But that extra energy may not feel so grounded. So it might feel more pressured to do something from an Earth standpoint, at least on Wednesday the 11th, when we got the grand Earth trine. Even your emotions are grounded, but bigger. That's the point. It's all elevated energy, and that alone can feel like excitement. Oh my gosh, did I? I forgot something. Doop, 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 doop. Yeah, right here. This is Friday the 6th. I just scrolled on past this, didn't I? This is the full moon. I didn't even put any notes on there. I just forgot to put these notes on. Sorry about that, everybody. That's embarrassing. So, sun's over here. This is 5:07 p.m. Friday, the 6th. And we have the sun in Capricorn. It's conjunct with Mercury retrograde. Let's see here. This is before Sun and Pluto are conjoined. So sorry about going back in time. But Sun, opposite of Moon, the full moon is in Cancer, 16 degrees, 22 minutes. And all those trines we've already talked about. On this one, we're looking at a sort of a loose trine over to Neptune. So it's going to be extra dreamy. We have full moon in general. It sort of shakes things up. It pulls the energy much bigger, much brighter, but it makes people's behaviors and reactions much more unpredictable because the energy is bigger, and it matches all the other alignments that we have talked about, including the Sun and Pluto, including all the alignments on Uranus. So not only that, but on this Friday the 6th, this is the last day of Uranus square Saturn. So I find that one really interesting. It just adds to the shakeup because eliminating that energy is just as shaking things up as starting that energy, the Uranus square Saturn. Then there's this opportunity for the full moon to help instruct the future and how to be free and independent and how to think like a technological scientist almost, or inventor. You can invent yourself, and that's getting started before Sun gets into conjoin with Pluto. All right. I can't think of anything else for this. All right. I think we're ready for the I-Ching. So, in review of this week, this very energetically demanding week, we have on the 6th, which is Friday, 6th of January, you got the full moon in Cancer. That's big. Then we have a brief, just kind of the aftershock or the hangover from the full moon. We have a day of no squares. Uranus and Saturn square fall off, and that can be disruptive as well, that falling off, but it's falling off slowly, very slowly. And we have the grand Earth trine at the end with a T-square on Uranus in the middle. All right. I-Ching says, enthusiasm. Enthusiasm unleashes enormous creative energy. Good fortune can follow when an enthusiastic leader is a person of strong character. It's about electricity. Enthusiasm might as well be electricity. In a personal relationship or in a group, generates special electricity, kind of like being in a stadium or a concert, big concert with massive amounts of people all sharing the same, enjoyment or the same enthusiasm. It's electrifying, and that's the feeling that you can expect this week. Subconsciously flaunting enthusiasm invites misfortune. Those around you need to ignite their own flames. Turning up the jets on your burners will not help if those around you are out of fuel. If others cannot keep up, you may need to slow the pace. Slowing down might be good this week. But let's see what the solution is. Now we're transitioning into the solution, and we start with the I-Ching 51. One hears thunder unexpectedly. First comes fear, then a sharpened vision because you're in sympathetic nervous system mode. It's a big shocker. And what is that? That's Uranus. Uranus is electricity, and it both can create enthusiasm, create change, create shock. And so here we are with the solution, starting the solution. We're reading this in terms of what behavior should we do if there is a shock? Okay, that's how we read this. Willingness to be open to fear rather than running away from it. Change can make you anxious, so don't run. Be looking towards it. Enabling you to transform anxiety into laser-sharp perception. The wise look within and search their hearts for strengths to face the world with courage. That's another one with Sun and Pluto together. Is in this power can feel like courage if you've tapped into the Sun conjoined Pluto. And by the way, if you're feeling the doom of Sun conjoined Pluto, that's an indicator that you're in the energy. And so all it is just look a little harder, look over on the other side of the coin, and there's the courage to move through that challenge. It is essential that your inner compass be aligned with the magnetic force that guides you towards fulfillment of your deepest desires and your highest destiny. Prepare yourself to take some jarring surprise in stride. Meditate a little bit to find your center. So it's about staying calm through change and not get so reactive. You're going to have to react, but let's think methodically. Let's slow things down so that you don't make mistakes while you're doing this. So we put in our calculator. We have the full moon in Cancer. That puts us in Human Design Rave Gate 53 and a Sidereal sign of Gemini. So here's 53. Here's the Rave. It's called Development. Development is a structured progression that is both steadfast and enduring. Steadfast is a good word for Earth. So that grand Earth trine, that's getting stronger by the day, but it really will only come in line towards the end of our CIRF week. And then momentum. Success breeds success. Here's what I was talking about with looking into the past. The protection of early success nurtures further achievement. The pressure to start something new based on past success. This is exactly what we were inferring from all those alignments this week. Mercury retrograde for one of them. The option of T-square on Uranus going over to Scorpio in the South Node. is looking to the past for successes and in having those instruct the Uranus inside of you. The big T-square grander trine Uranus this week is the pressure to start something new based on those past successes. All right, you ready for the solution? Let's do it. And if you're interested in reaching interzension, you're starting your journey towards inner peace, go to interzension.com. Thank you. All right. And did you have your ticket yet? Ticket to the shit show. This week is going to be electric. Crazy shakeup starts with full moon in Cancer, making us seek the nurture continuum. But in the backdrop, rebellious Uranus shifts conflict from Saturn to Venus. And then it resonates to the grand Earth trine on the 11th. The material world vibrates to the eccentric hand grenade of very exciting change. And very exciting is in quotes or in parentheses. That's what we know that is inevitable, but we don't know if that's absolutely true going forward. So what we do know is a grenade of change. We don't know if it's going to be exciting or dreadful. But we all do have a hand in creating that reality too, so keep that in mind. All right, here's the solution slide. We're starting with shock as a solution. That means we got to set it means we don't know what is to expect, right? And that's very Uranus. So set the perception to the silver lining, not what's wrong, right? As change does happen, as shock does happen, start looking towards the silver lining, but you can pre-authorize that perception. Willingness to be open to fear, anxiety, and change. Display courage. Keep your bearings. Set the course to the highest values and stay calm. The rave says something is developing, and develop structured progression that is sustainable. It means let's not just willy-nilly the solution together, band-aid it. This is not a band-aid time. As the shock comes in and we all have to sort of reorganize and adapt and think, don't just get the quick band-aid and just put it over the problem. We need to, cure the underlying disease, right? And to do that, we want to protect early success and the pressure to start something new based on past success. Success breeds success. All right. And then the Sidereal Gemini gives us the versatility and alertness and intelligence and wit to get through these challenging times. So here we go with the overall triangulation. It's fairly obvious that the solution is preparing us for the full moon and Uranus shake-up energy. The I-Ching suggests to prepare for and open up to shocking stimuli by staying centered and not veering from your highest values and goals. When the shock manifests, change develops, and the rave says to immediately structure the aftermath on plans that are durable and sustainable, not ad hoc or temporary. Let me get a sip of water. The Gemini Sidereal solution offers excellent adaptability, alertness, intelligence, and logic. All those are excellent for times of change, especially when mentally slowing down and thinking methodically. Even Mercury retrograde can help with slowing the mind down and, above all, using your past successes to instruct your plans to recreate old successes. And I know there's a lot in there, and this is not even guaranteeing that something super crazy or out of the ordinary or super shocking is even going to happen. But it means that to be prepared for it is on the table in accordance with the technology and how we're rolling out this process. So the mantra that I'm choosing to use is I flow easily with big changes, ensuring that I fulfill my soul's path in this lifetime. And I think that folds nicely back into the Sun and Pluto opportunity there. It's the opportunity to feel like your ego's dying. That would be horrific. But it also that opportunity to ensure that you're on your soul's path and your ego is in compliance with what you came down here to do, instead of taking over and want, and take in a hedonistic style. I'm not saying that taking and receiving is wrong, but that's normally the ego's default state, put it that way. So when you can get the ego, we don't want to kill the ego like some people are saying in the New Age, but we want to be sure to conform the ego to the soul's path. And the soul's basically riding the ego and steering it with a very tight rope, but not too tight. Don't want to stifle the ego. The ego's got some reasons to be here and to help the soul's evolution. So I flow easily with big changes. And in this change, I trust that the universe will help me keep going or get me on that right soul's path. And then don't forget your highest values. Make sure you have those in your heart, in your head, all the time in this, because your reaction to anything must be or should be, for maximum success, your reaction to big change and shocking moments should be in accordance with your values. Most of the time people react in challenging times or uncomfortable emotions in escapism. And that can happen in a big grenade that goes off. People can really be in escape mode. So you need to watch out for unpredictable behavior from others. Especially that applies just to the full moon by itself. But you need to be prepared for unpredictable behavior, unpredictable events, and possible hiccups to the system. All right, everybody. Man, I was all over the place on that one. I think that one is a Mercury retrograde, especially with my Gemini rising. And I also have a Mercury in Capricorn. I think I talked about that earlier. And I get another Mercury return once he goes direct again. Anyway, let's see here. Anything else? Put your comments below. I thank you. And namaste. Let's do this again next week. If there is a next week, see ya.